This is the Basis, a new gaming device I've been developing that combines a game controller with a mouse sensor, which performs the same function as any other mouse, but operated using two hands, moving the controller across the mousepad. While this device can enhance gaming for anyone, two groups are most likely to see the benefits right away. The first is current controller players, whether already on PC or looking to move from console to PC, and the second group is veteran PC gamers dealing with some form of strain or injury that makes mouse and keyboard use difficult. The benefits you get from this device will depend on what your current primary input device is, so we'll first take a look at how the Basis compares with a standard controller. One of the biggest problems with standard controllers is that the thumbstick only allows you to control the speed at which the camera moves. If you think about it, when games add things like aim assist and even full target lock-on for standard controllers, what they're saying is that your camera movement is going to be handled for you because your input method is not good enough to achieve the objective of the game. The Basis solves this problem by adding a real mouse sensor to the controller, so your camera movement becomes direct. You move your hands and the view moves with it. The difference is night and day, especially if you've never gamed with a mouse before. It's like going from a pedal bike to a sports car. Your skill ceiling increases significantly. Aim assist or target lock-on become gameplay luxuries you can employ strategically, not something you have to rely on for every combat encounter, and you likely won't need to use them at all. Aside from precision though, what's often overlooked is that the mouse sensor simply gives you a superior level of overall responsiveness compared to a controller's thumbstick. So even in games where targeting is not as crucial, you still have that very quick, direct movement of your character at all times, and this gives a greater sense of immersion. You've probably noticed the 4 extra face buttons on the side, and there's also 4 back buttons. Always nice to have more inputs, but when it comes to buttons, the real advantage with the Basis is not just how many you get. I want you to notice, as I'm moving my character around with the left stick, and I'm looking around freely with the mouse sensor, my right thumb isn't tied down. That gives me access to all 8 face buttons, and even though I can use the right thumbstick for a camera, I've gotten used to using the mouse sensor exclusively, which means I can repurpose the right stick for extra buttons. That's 22 customizable discrete inputs, while still having full control of movement and camera. This doesn't even require claw grip, just holding the controller comfortably as intended. A major enhancement for games that require lots of keybinds. In survival crafting games, for example, you can access all combat actions and the entire hotbar mapped one-to-one, without giving up movement or camera control. Even in MMOs, you can access dozens of game functions and hotbar items by adding a few shift modifiers, all while still being able to change directions and look around or target as needed. These benefits, while nice on their own, really add up to something greater than the sum of their parts, and that is a level of intuitive and fluid gameplay far above what standard and even pro controllers can provide, while keeping their comfortable and easy-to-use form factor. And you might be surprised, as I was, that you can use this device comfortably on the couch. You just need a flat piece of firm foam cushion on your lap and a mousepad. If you typically play for longer multi-hour sessions, a laptop pillow would work best. Now let's take a look at how the Basis compares with the mouse and keyboard. For many gamers, one of the biggest downsides of the mouse and keyboard is that it's far less comfortable than a controller. The wrists often rest flat on the desk, causing the forearm bones to twist, which can lead to strain on the muscles and tendons over time. The effect is even more pronounced for those who use a mouse and keyboard at their day jobs. You also really start to notice the strain when continuously holding down shift modifiers, or having to extend your fingers awkwardly to trigger actions. The mouse and keyboard simply weren't designed for gaming. The controller, after a bit of refinement over the years, is easily more comfortable. When gripping the ergonomic handles of the Basis, my wrists and arms are in a position where they naturally strain less, and most people will find that to be the case as well. Another issue with the mouse and keyboard is that even though the keyboard has plenty of keys, for many games 3 fingers will be dedicated to movement on WASD, leaving only a few keys accessible without halting the direction you want to move. Any time taken away from movement is effectively a stun being imposed by the limitations of your input device. This again is where the Basis gives you an advantage, allowing for more fluid and intuitive gameplay where you're always in control. Given the limitations of the two primary gaming devices, you can see our motivation for creating one that resolves this conflict of trade-offs. So how does the Basis actually work? It's very easy and straightforward to use. First, a quick setup. You simply adjust the height to your comfort, rotate the base into alignment, lock it into place, and grasp the handles as you would with any other controller. So far, everyone who's tried out the Basis, including myself, used their arms to move the mouse on the first attempt. And while there may be situations where that's needed, for the most part you're going to want to make smaller movements with your wrist. You may want to dial in the sensitivity, but as far as the mouse sensor movement goes, this is going to work just like a standard mouse, except you're using two hands. All of the inputs on a conventional controller are here, so if you're familiar with that setup, then you should be good to go. Though if you prefer custom binds, you can map any controller, keyboard, or mouse action to any of the inputs on the controller. Now I want to go over how the Basis works with various types of games. In general, the Basis is a natural fit with any game in a 3D environment where you need control of both your character direction and camera view. From RPGs to shooters to melee fighting games, even if the game doesn't have controller support, for example an MMO like Guild Wars 2 or EverQuest, you'll still be able to map all the inputs to keyboard and mouse functions and get the controller experience. Keep in mind the Basis has 6 motion axes of control, which of course translates into the full 6 degrees of freedom found in many space sim games and space shooters. So it would be a good option if you were looking to get into these types of games using a more compact or more versatile device rather than a full dedicated flight stick and throttle setup. I also found the Basis to work well in isometric view games that allow for WASD movement, like Path of Exile 2. Even though the game has a very well implemented support for standard controllers, I mapped the Basis to keyboard functions only with WASD bound to the left stick. This allowed me to use the mouse cursor, which I prefer for targeting and inventory management. And of course the Basis will work in any game as a standard controller, without using the mouse sensor. So you can see the Basis is a highly versatile device, expanding the range of games that can be played with the controller and the options you have in how they are played. The Basis will be recognized by your Windows or Linux PC, either as a keyboard, a mouse, a controller, or any combination of the three, depending on how you have it configured. The initial release will likely not be an officially supported controller by Xbox or PlayStation. However, when configured for mouse and keyboard functions, you should still be able to connect the Basis to those consoles and use it with any games that provide support for mouse and keyboard. Though still in development, we're pretty close to the final design. So let us know if you have any feedback or if there are any features you'd like to see added. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, as we're going to try and get some more demo footage and other content up soon. Also, if you want to follow along with our progress and discussion around the Basis, I'll have our Discord link in the description. Thank you all for watching.